You have money, not a lot, maybe $15,000, maybe 20. Maybe you just got a bonus. Maybe you finally saved something and you have a car loan. And someone, a friend, a podcast, an uncle at Thanksgiving told you that you should invest instead of paying off debt. And someone else told you that debt is always bad and you should eliminate it first. And now you are confused. And both arguments sound reasonable. And you do not know which one is actually right for your specific situation. Today I am going to give you the exact answer, not the general answer, not the "it depends" answer that tells you nothing. The exact mathematical answer at every interest rate that exists in the American car loan market right now, in May 2026, with real numbers. And then I am going to tell you the part that the math does not capture, because there is one. My name is Donald Cash. Double chin, gold tie. Jerome, who has no debt and no opinion on this matter, and is currently supervising the process from the couch. I paid off a car loan early once. My financial advisor told me I was making a mathematical error. He was right. I slept better anyway. I have thought about that trade-off many times since. Today, I want to give you the full picture, so you can make this decision with real information. Let us start with where interest rates actually are right now. As of the 14th of May, 2026, the average auto loan interest rate for a 60-month new car loan, 6.97%, call it 7%. That is, according to Bankrate's weekly survey, updated this week. Superprime borrowers, credit score 781 and above, are seeing rates as low as 4.66% on new cars, according to Experian Q4 2025 data. Prime borrowers 661 to 780, averaging approximately 6.8 to 7%. Near prime 6, 20 to 660, approximately 9 to 10%. Subprime 501 to 619, averaging 13.18% on new cars. Deep subprime, below 516% and above. Used cars run 1 to 3 percentage points higher than new cars across all credit tiers. Average used car rate 12.01% nationally. So depending on when you bought and what your credit looked like at the time, your car loan rate is somewhere between 4.5% and 18%. And the answer to pay off or invest is completely different at 4.5% than it is at 13%. Let me walk through every scenario. First, the core principle that drives the entire analysis. Paying off debt is a guaranteed return equal to the interest rate. If your car loan is 7%, paying it off gives you a guaranteed 7% return. No market risk, no volatility, no sequence of returns risk. A guaranteed 7%. Investing is an expected return, not guaranteed, historical. D. The S&P 500 has returned approximately 10% annually over long periods. A diversified dividend ETF, like SCHD or VYM, has returned approximately 8 to 10%, including dividends. But expected is not guaranteed. In 2022, a diversified portfolio dropped 15 to 20%. In 2008, it dropped 50%. So the real question is the expected return from investing meaningfully higher than the guaranteed return from debt payoff? Enough higher to justify the uncertainty? That answer changes at different interest rates. Scenario 1. Your car loan rate is 4 to 5%. This is the rate zone for super prime borrowers with excellent credit on newer vehicles. Less common now than in 2020 to 2021, when rates were rock bottom, but still exists for the best qualified borrowers. At 4 to 5%, a high-yield savings account is currently paying approximately 4.5%. Marcus, Ally, American Express National Bank, FDIC insured, zero risk. Your car loan, 4 to 5% guaranteed return from payoff. High-yield savings, 4 to 5%, roughly equivalent, with full liquidity. A dividend ETF historically returning 8 to 10%, meaningfully higher than 4 to 5%. A short-term treasury bill, approximately 4.3 to 4.4%, roughly equivalent to the loan rate with zero risk. Financial expert verdict at 4 to 5%. Do not accelerate payoff. Make minimum payments. Put surplus cash in dividend ETFs or at minimum in a high-yield savings account. The expected return from either is equal to or better than the guaranteed return from payoff. The one exception, if you are within 12 to 18 months of paying off the car anyway, finishing it off has real psychological value. The payment-free months become investable income. The math is close enough that psychological clarity matters. Scenario 2. Your car loan rate is 5 to 6.9%. This is the zone for prime borrowers on new cars, approximately the most common rate bucket for creditworthy new car buyers in 2026. At 6 to 7%, high-yield savings at 4.5%, lower than the loan rate. Paying off the loan beats the savings account. Dividend ETF, historical return 8 to 10%, higher than 6 to 7%. The gap between paying off a 6.9% loan and investing at an expected 8 to 10%, approximately 1 to 3 percentage points. On $15,000 over 3 years. That gap is approximately $1,500 to $3,000 in your favor if you invest and the market cooperates. Financial expert verdict at 5 to 7%. This is the genuine grey zone. Both choices are mathematically defensible. The expected return from investing slightly exceeds the guaranteed return from payoff, but the margin is not large enough to be decisive. Here is how I think about it. The decision should hinge on 2 questions. Question 1. How stable is your income? If you have stable employment and a solid emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses, the slight mathematical edge of investing is worth taking. If your income is variable or uncertain, the guaranteed return of debt elimination reduces your financial fragility. Question 2. How close are you to retirement? If you are 5 years or fewer from retirement, guaranteed returns matter more than expected returns. Sequence of returns risk is real, and a portfolio loss right before you need the money is genuinely harmful. At 6 to 7% rate, paying off the car in this situation has real risk reduction value beyond the pure math. If you are more than 10 years from retirement with stable income and a solid emergency fund, a mild mathematical lean toward investing. If you are within 5 years of retirement or have income uncertainty, a mild lean toward payoff. The correct answer for most people in this range: split. Put some toward payoff acceleration, put some toward investing. The diversification of decision reduces regret risk in either direction. Scenario 3. Your car loan rate is 7 to 9%. This is the near prime zone. Borrowers with credit scores roughly 620 to 710, also common for used car loans across most credit tiers. At 7 to 9%, high-yield savings at 4.5%, significantly lower. Investing in savings beats nothing, but does not beat the loan. Dividend ETF, expected return 8 to 10%. At the lower end of this rate zone, still slightly competitive. At the higher end, 9%, we are approaching parity with expected returns. Financial expert verdict at 7 to 9%. The math begins to favor payoff. The guaranteed 7 to 9% from elimination is close to or equal to the expected 8 to 10% from a dividend ETF, with meaningfully less risk. 2. There is a concept called risk-adjusted return. A guaranteed 9% is not the same as an expected 9%. The guaranteed version eliminates the downside possibility. The expected version carries the risk of actual loss. When the guaranteed rate approaches the expected investment rate, the certainty premium of payoff becomes compelling. At 7%, lean toward payoff, but investing is still defensible. At 8 to 9%, clear lean toward payoff. The gap between guaranteed and expected return is now too small to justify the uncertainty of investing. Scenario 4. Your car loan rate is 9 to 12%. This is subprime territory on new cars, prime to near prime territory on used cars. A significant portion of American auto borrowers are in this zone in 2026. Interest rates on used auto loans are still high by historical standards, and that is keeping monthly payments high on used cars and trucks. At 9 to 12%, a guaranteed 10% return from debt elimination beats the expected return from most mainstream investments on a risk-adjusted basis. The S&P 500 has historically returned 10%, but that is an average over decades. In individual 3 to 5 year windows, the typical remaining term of a car loan outcomes vary widely, from extremely positive to negative. A guaranteed 10 to 12% is simply better than an expected 10% with real volatility attached. Financial expert verdict at 9 to 12%. Pay off the car. Aggressively. This is not a close call. The only exception, if paying off the car would eliminate your emergency fund entirely. Never deplete liquidity to pay off debt. Keep 3 to 6 months of expenses accessible regardless of interest rate. Subject to that constraint, surplus cash at 9 to 12% car loan rates should go toward the loan before any investment account. Scenario 5. Your car loan rate is above 12%. This is the deep subprime zone, used cars with lower credit scores. Per Experian data, subprime borrowers are averaging 13.18% on new cars and 18.86% on used cars in Q4 2025 data, at 12 to 18% and above. There is no mainstream investment vehicle with an expected return that competes with eliminating debt at these rates. The S&P 500 has never averaged 18% over any sustained long-term period, not even close. A high-yield savings account at 4.5% is not in the same universe as 12 to 18% debt. Financial expert verdict, above 12%. Every available dollar beyond your emergency fund should go toward this debt immediately. This is not a financial optimization problem. This is a financial emergency. At 18%. A $15,000 car loan costs approximately $2,700 in interest per year, nearly $8 per day in interest alone. Every day you delay is a real cost. And this is the zone where the most vulnerable borrowers find themselves. Those with credit scores below 580 could be stung for over 18% in interest. This amounts to an extra $14,000 in interest alone for a $30,000 car over a 6-year loan term. $14,000 in interest on a $30,000 car. Pay it off as fast as possible. Invest later. Now, the part the math does not capture. I said I paid off a car loan early. My advisor said I made a mathematical error at the rate I had. He was technically correct. But here is what he could not quantify. The month the payment stopped, I had an extra payment available every month. It went into my investment account, automatically, without a decision, without willpower, without thinking about it. When you have debt, the payment is an obligation. It happens regardless. When the debt is gone, the same dollar amount becomes a choice, and choices require willpower, and willpower is finite. And life creates distractions. For many people, the act of paying off debt and then converting the former payment into an automatic investment contribution produces better real-world results than the mathematically optimal strategy of investing while carrying the debt. Not because the math is wrong, because humans are not mathematical instruments. The behavioral advantage of debt elimination is real, even when the return calculation slightly favors investing. I do not know which type of person you are. You know which type of person you are. If you are the type of person who will automatically redirect the freed up payment into investments the month the loan disappears, the math should guide your decision. If you are the type of person who, once the debt is gone, might relax the financial discipline, then the psychological value of eliminating debt and replacing the payment with automatic investments has real financial value that the spreadsheet does not show. Let me give you the decision framework. 4 questions. Answer them honestly. Question 1. What is your exact interest rate? Look at your loan statement. Find the APR. Write it down. Below 5%, invest the surplus. Keep minimum payments. 5 to 7%. Grey zone, both defensible. Split if uncertain. 7 to 9%. Lean toward payoff. Investing still marginally possible. 9 to 12%. Pay off the car. Clear directive. Above 12%, emergency. Every available dollar toward payoff. Question 2. Do you have an emergency fund? 3 to 6 months of expenses. Accessible. FDIC insured. If no, build the emergency fund first, before investing, before accelerated payoff. Liquidity prevents you from having to borrow at worse terms when something goes wrong. Question 3. How far from retirement are you? More than 10 years. Expected returns matter. Grey zone leans toward investing. 5 to 10 years. Guaranteed returns matter more. Grey zone leans toward payoff. Fewer than 5 years. Sequence of returns risk is significant. Payoff has clear risk reduction value. Question 4. Do you know yourself? Will the freed up payment automatically go to investments? Or will it be absorbed by lifestyle? If automatic, follow the math. If absorbed, the behavioral case for payoff is stronger than the math suggests. Here is my personal situation in May 2026 for transparency. My car is paid off. Has been for 3 years. I did not have a high interest rate when I paid it off. The advisor was right that I left a small amount of expected return on the table. But the month the payments stopped, those dollars went into my dividend ETF automatically. No decision required, no willpower, just an automatic transfer that happened because I had set it up before the loan ended. The payment that once went to the car now goes to my portfolio. My portfolio currently generates approximately $1,400 per month in passive income. Would I have more if I had invested the full amount during the loan period? Possibly slightly. Maybe a few $1,000s more. Was the certainty and behavioral clarity worth that small difference? For me, yes. Your answer to that question is your own. Jerome has no car loan. Jerome has no investment account. Jerome has a full bowl of food and a couch. Jerome has achieved a very specific kind of financial equilibrium that I choose not to examine too carefully. My tie is still tight, and the portfolio is still working. Let the money do the work. The question is only which direction to point it first. In the comments, what is your car loan rate? And based on the framework in this video, what are you going to do? I want to know what you decide. Not just what the math says, what you actually decide. I reply to every comment. Donald Cash, out.